Yeah. So before you, so far, I have one servlet. So what is the application? Servlets. Once you log in, you have to log in servlet. For what? Shopping servlet. From shopping servlet, it will take you to cart servlet. From cart servlet, it will take you to payment servlet. Then delivery servlet. You have to move from one servlet to another. So that is the number of servlets. So how we can communicate with the each servlet. Okay, so that's what we say. Communication methods. So there is one interface called as RD or request dispatcher. Okay. So this interface provides a facility for dispatching the request to another resource. It may be an HTML, a servlet, or a JSP. Got it? So not only servlet. So from servlet, if you want to communicate to a JSP file or a servlet file or a HTML file. Okay. So for that, request dispatcher interface, it provides some methods for communicating from servlet to other files. From servlet to other files. Okay. So it is a one way of servlet collaboration. So we are sharing the data from one servlet to another. Collaboration is what? Sharing the data from one servlet to another. So we'll see how we can do that. So the servlet communication method. So which are the methods of the request dispatcher interface? So we have these two methods. One is forward and include. I think few of them yesterday you were doing that project, na? Small. So we were using that without forward. So once you create an object, we need to use the forward and include methods there so that everything will work fine. So servlets access network resources to satisfy the client request. Hmm? So as a client, you may access, you may try to, or you may request many information over the network. So for that reason, we have this servlet communication. So this RD is a part of JavaX.servlet package. It belongs to JavaX.servlet. It's already there, imported, is it not? While you create a servlet, it's already imported. Yes, you can just look here. So we are using the forward method. It forwards the request from one servlet to another on the same server. So prior to this, I need to create an object of RD or request dispatch. So once that using that object, I will be using forward method and passing the request and response object. Okay. So forward requests from one server to another on the same server because it's a purely servlet method only on a same server. Similarly, we have one more method called as include. It includes the contents of one servlet in another servlet in the response. Okay, already I am having one servlet, login servlet. Okay, so if the login fails, now again I will include the login.html file, something like that. Include means in the present response, it will include the content of another servlet. Okay, so just understand. Forward means from one servlet to another servlet. There are two servlets from here to here. But in include, it will include the contents of this in the present servlet which you are working. So we'll see that how it can be. Then it's also easy. Only for passing the data from one servlet to another servlet. So this is the forward you can just see here. You're making a request to servlet 1. From servlet 1, we are forwarding to servlet 2. Okay, and servlet 2, your response is generated and sending back to the client. 4. So servlet 1 also gives a response. So that also we can see. But so far what we do, what we are trying to do, from here we are sending a request, servlet will give a response. Now for further manipulation and passing that response to servlet 2, I am sending back the response and it is giving me. Okay, so that's it. So the response of the first servlet is not displayed to the user because this response is sent to the servlet 2. So from there it is sent back to the user. This is how forward method works. Similarly, include. So we have a request. The servlet sends a request to the servlet 2. Okay, so just look here. The response of servlet 2 is included in the servlet 1's response. So in the previous case, directly we are sending a response to the client. But here, this response is included in the servlet 1 and final response is generated and that is sent to the client. So that's the difference. Okay, so we'll see. It's very simple. Only thing is you have to understand it is only in the same server. It is only in the same server. So how we can do that practically? So we need to use this get request dispatcher method. So if you want to work with a request dispatcher, you need to create an object of request dispatcher. You need to create an object of request dispatcher. Okay. So this is the method here. You can just see here. Public request dispatcher, get request dispatcher. And resource you have to specify it. So practically you have to do like this. Just look here. Request dispatcher RD equals request.get request dispatcher to servlet 2. So from servlet 1, I want to move to which one? Servlet 2. So for that, I'm specifying the creating an RD object and I'm creating an object of request dispatcher and we're specifying the path to where you want to navigate. Okay. And after that, rd.forward request comma response. So rd has what? The path to the servlet. Only two lines. Request dispatcher rd equals request.get request dispatcher servlet 2, servlet 3, login servlet, like that you can specify that. Then you have to give rd.forward or rd.include. For this, I'll just show you the example of the Java T point. Okay, for example, because we need to create 3-4 files here. Right. So just look here, people. Those are not still familiar with how to create a files, all those in Eclipse. Okay, few of them I found you are still not able to create a file and how to run a file, run a HTML file in a server. Please look into that. So just look, I'll just go to shop stop and I'll create a new file, new HTML file. Okay, index.html. So it will be login. So make sure that when you create an HTML file, give the title. Okay, give the title. So here we are creating one a login form. I'm just creating a login form. Okay, so that's all. So just look here. We're creating a login form. Username and password. I'm just creating a username and password. If it is an HTML, again, no need of running the server. You can just refresh. Why? Because HTML runs on what? On the browser side. It's a client side application, is it not? Only servlet, you need to restart the server. Okay. That's why just doing. Just we are creating one login form. So next, we'll create a servlet for this. Okay. So servlet name will be this. The servlet name will be this. New. Yeah. So few of them are asking how to select the packages yesterday. You can just see a browse. We'll get it here. Huh? Login. So just look here. This should be matching. Okay. That should be matching. Hmm? So just look here. One more thing. When you're getting errors. Okay. When you're getting errors, just look here. Go there and just see what you need to do. It will give a suggestion here. It will give a suggestion. It is asking to import the package for the request dispatch. Request dispatch. That's all. So just look at people. So we have this index and the name we are given as username and user pass. The same we are just taking here using which one? Get parameters. We are taking using get parameter and storing it in NNP. Username and user pass. So just look here. If password equals servlet. If password equals servlet, it should take me to a file called as servlet 2, which we need to create. We are not yet created that. So far, we are not dealing with this, is it not? If password, P means where the password is stored. If that equals servlet, I'm creating an object of request dispatcher and it should communicate or transfer my control to servlet 2. And I'm using this forward method. RD dot forward. You can just see RD dot forward. So I was talking about include. It's talking about include, is it not? Here also we're just taking creating an object of request dispatcher RD. In case if the password is wrong, it should take me back to which one? Index.html. It is not actually taking me back, but in the same file, it is including what? Index.html. We are still will be under servlet 2, for example, or this servlet. So it will include the content of index.html. Just now we created, na? That's the difference. This will forward, but this will include. Okay. So now we'll get that second file. Okay. So welcome servlet. So this I'll change it. Okay. I'll just change it to welcome. I'll change it to welcome. So we'll create one more file here, welcome servlet. Welcome servlet. Yes. So what I need to change here? This. So there I just given the mapping name as what? Welcome. So you need to change it to just welcome. That's enough. Otherwise you have to give a welcome servlet there also. Hmm? So just look here what actually happens here. So I'll enter the wrong password. Hmm? Sorry, username or password error. It's still in which one? Login. But below what's happening here? It is including index.html. Got the point? We are still in login. It is in the same file. It is including the content of a index.html. So why? So because we have given it here. In login, it will go to login, is it not? Yeah. If the password is wrong, sorry, username or password is error, you can just here plus it will take you to index.html. Okay, include. We're using include. Whereas we'll see this now. So I'll give the perfect password. That's nothing but servlet. Welcome. Yes. Okay, now what's happening? It's forward. So it is passing the data from login servlet to welcome servlet. Again, observe here, people. Still, my URL is what? Login. It is just transferring the control to the welcome servlet and is displaying the contents here. My servlet URL still points to login. Okay, this you need to understand. So from here again, it might go to the next URL also. But as of now, we are still pointing to login. Okay. So just look here. RD equals request.get request dispatcher. You're pointing to welcome. So when you are using servlets, we are not supposed to give extension, but when you are pointing to a JSP file or an HTML file, you have to give the extension names, index.html. So request dispatcher, request dispatcher. So basically include the contents of the another file in present file. This forwards the control from one servlet to another servlet. So as of now, we are just forwarding. Just look here. We have entered the data where people in the HTML file. We entered the data where in the HTML file. James. From James, it is taken to where? Login servlet. So it's basically here, is it not? My login name is here. N. So here, I'm transferring the data to welcome here. I'm transferring the content to which one? Welcome. Okay. rd.forward request, comma, response. If the servlet is this now equals to, if the password is equal to servlet, I'm transferring to welcome. So what happens in welcome.servlet? Welcome servlet. Just look here. Again, I'm just giving this request.get parameter user name. So what is username? Again, it's the name of the text box of the index.html. So from there, we are coming to login servlet. From login servlet, again, through request, it is sent to which one? Welcome servlet. So why? Just look here. We are passing also request. Not here, here. The forward, we are passing also request. So along with that, this username, whatever you got in this request, that also passed. So that is why in the welcome servlet, we can directly access that request.get parameter, username and store it in N, and that we are printing. So this is one way. Okay. So I can also pass the values from this also, people. These values also I can pass. But there is a different way for that. But here we are fetching the data from the second servlet. Actually, it is passed from the first HTML file to next, and from that to the welcome servlet. Clear? So we'll see one more example for this. Again, which one? RD, request dispatcher. This is applied with the CSS. Okay, that's why it's done. So just look here, people. Under web app folder, under web app folder, I have a CSS one folder. Under web app, we have a CSS. Okay. And images. CSS and images. So in the link, relation equals style sheet, hypertext reference equals CSS slash name dot CSS. Okay. So here on the web app, I have this file name dot CSS. Okay, let it be. So just look at people. I want to calculate the salary details of the employees. Okay. So again, James. So you have a basic salary of 5,000. You are aware of that, na? TA, DA, all those things will be added. So we are calculating that. Hmm? So we will click on submit. Employee name James, basic 5,000, DA 4,000, HRA 1,500. Gross is this much. Okay. Deductions 525. So in hand you will get this much. So we have calculated that. And we have used two servlets here. We have used two servlets to pass the information. We use two servlets to pass the information. Which are those? We'll see that. Okay. So we have entered only these two. It's calculating DA, HRA, gross salary, then deductions, and this will be the salary in his hands. Okay. So now we'll see what actually happens. So we have one HTML file. Okay, this is an HTML file. As I told you, you are aware of style sheet. You are aware, right? CSS, everyone is aware. Yes, but you have to make a folder that in a web app folder. The CSS should be under web app. Why? Because we are giving style to whom? HTML files. So where are HTML files stored? Web app. Mein. So we need to create a folder there and create one CSS file. Again, CSS file now can directly create from here. It's here, CSS. Okay. But in this case, you need to just specify it is going to web app. But select here CSS. That's the thing. So I just have a form action gross servlet and emp name and basic, and I just say submit button. Now, so we just go to this servlet, gross servlet here. It's same do get. I require only basic. I just require only basic. Okay, they are not fetching name. We'll see why. Not an issue. We're getting a basic and storing it in basic form. Now just look here. I'm calculating DA, HRA and gross. Okay. So basic is how many percentage? Basic is 80 percentage. HRA is 30 percentage. So gross salary is basic plus DA plus HRA. Fine. So just look here, people. Now we are performing servlet communication. We are performing servlet communication. Just look here. We are performing servlet communication. What is that? Same. I'm creating an object of request dispatcher and we are forwarding it to net servlet. Okay. And I'm following the request and response. But look here, before that, we added some statements here. Attributes are used for sharing values between one servlet to another. In the previous case, directly from the HTML file, I access the username in the second servlet. Using which one? Get parameter. But I have some data. Which is the data? This. DA, HRA, basic, which is calculated only with this servlet. So this data I need to pass it to the any other servlet, means I need to use attributes. Okay, attributes, you know, right? Every object has what? Attributes. So just look here, that is set with the value with the method set attributes. So request dot set attribute. It means what? We are attaching some attributes with the request to the request for the next servlet. So B, DA, HRA, these are the names of the new attributes. Okay. So what is the value of B? Basic. So here it is equivalent to this. Float B is equal to basic. So we are calculated here, na? So this we are storing it here. HRA we are setting it to this. Gross we are setting it to GR. So in the second servlet, how we can access people? Using this attribute names. Okay. So request dot set attributes. I am setting the values of the basic with the new names and pass to the request. So now request is having what, people? This request will have what? Whatever you are entered here. These two things plus these attributes. Okay. And you're passing the request to, you're forwarding it to the net servlet. So now we'll go to the net servlet. This from where you're getting? From the previous request. Of course, it is from the HTML file. So from the previous request, we're getting that EMP name. Just look, in the previous case, we gave set attribute. Now we are giving get attribute. So these attributes are used for sharing data between two servlets. Attributes are used for sharing data between two servlets. So in one servlet, I have some data. What is that? The calculation of your salaries, basic, net, all those things. So that I am again request dot get attribute. So just look here. From the form we use which one? Get parameter. From the form if you want to get thing. But now I want to get the data from where? Servlet. So get attribute, get attribute. But what are these? The attributes name what you have set in the previous servlet. Okay. Of course, we need to do what? Typecasting. By default, the request values will be of type what? String. So that is why we need to do typecasting and store it in these variables. Okay, I'll declare one more variable a deduction. So that's nothing but 50%. Sorry, 5%. 0F. 50 is too much, right? 50 deduction is too much, right? Yeah. So came to know suddenly. So gross minus deduction. Gross minus deduction. And we're displaying it. These are all same what you have done previously. What are the new things we are seeing here? This stuff. Okay. And in the previous case, we are setting it. We're setting an attribute here. B, D, A, H, R, A, G, R. And this we are getting it in the net servlet. You can just see your people. We're getting B, D, A, H, R, A, and G, R. And that we are trying to display. Got it? So attributes are used for what? Sharing data between servlets. Sharing data between servlets. Okay. Now just understand, everyone should be familiar with the IDE first. Now most of the things, what I say is, you're not able to create a file, create a project, configure the Tomcat. So once that is set, just look at whatever steps I did. If you follow that steps, it will be cleanly. You can create a project. Before that, you can configure the Tomcat. So once you do that, then it will be smooth. You can sail smoothly, because hope you're understanding whatever has been taught. So you can do the things clearly. So first of all, be clear with the working of the IDE, Eclipse IDE. Okay, and handle Tomcat smoothly. Okay, that's the main thing, because it may crash, error. Again, you have to delete it, remove the configuration. Again, you have to run it. So many things are. So that's fine. So set attribute and get attribute are used for what? The servlet communication. Sorry, for passing the data between two servlets. And in this case, as I told you, we used only forward. We are not used include here. Okay, it's one way. The previous case it was login. So if the login is unsuccessful, it should again go to index. That's the situation. So just observe that whatever we are trying to do, it's all coming from which one? Okay. This HTTP servlet has again base interface called as servlet. So all the methods of servlet interface are available to HTTP servlet and again to the servlets whatever we create. So next we have one more method called as send redirect. Okay. So we're looking into servlet communication, is it not? We're looking into servlet communication. And just look at, don't think that we are finished with the RD. No. Till we finish JSP now, RD will be using. We'll be using whatever we have learned so far. Till we finish now, we'll be going on use. The next is send redirect. There is one more method used for servlet communication. But it belongs to response. It belongs to response. Okay. The send redirect method of HTTP server response interface can be used to redirect response to another resources. Okay. It is used to redirect response to another resource. It may be servlet, JSP or HTML. So in the previous case also what forward is also used to for what? Servlet communication. We can forward the request from one servlet to another servlet or HTML file or an index. But that is the method of request dispatcher. It's a method of which one? Request dispatcher. But this belongs to response interface. HTTP servlet response. So it can be used to redirect response to another resource. It may be servlet, JSON, or HTML. It accepts relative as well as absolute URL. What is the difference between relative and absolute, guys? What is relative and absolute? URLs. To the end. Absolute. Yeah. What is relative and what is absolute? URL. So absolute is nothing but full path. Now, for example, okay. For example, I'm thinking of talking about the local drive hours. Okay, C drive slash soft shop stop till the end of the servlet. That is what actually absolute or relative? Absolute. Relative from the current path to the file. Okay. So we give the full. In some cases, we give the current from the current location to the end. That's what. So now just look in the previous case. I just gave what form action equals welcome login servlet. What is that? What is it? Relative. We're talking about this. Yeah. What is this? This is the name of the path. So this is a servlet's path. Did we give any path? Okay, it should be in shop stop, something like that. What is this? Is it absolute or relative path? From the current, it has to go to this particular location. Instead of that, I can give the specify the full path, which is not actually required in this case, is it not? So that is what called absolute. So We have this send redirect method which accepts relative as well as absolute URL. It works at client side because it uses the URL bar of the browser to make another request. The forward and include works on the server side. Forward and include works on the server side, whereas this works on the client side. Because it uses the URL bar of the browser to make another request. So it can work inside as well as outside the server. Forward and include is basically for the within the server. But I want to my server has to communicate another application, another language on the other server. So for example, Microsoft still has to. So the one Microsoft still has application. So that means anybody use this send it. Then you can always go for forward or include. We can redirect. Also, we can use it for the internal or as well as for the external. So, if I want to give a link to SIDAC one particular page, so I can give a link, but that is not possible using forward or include. So, it can work inside as well as outside the server. So, difference: the forward method works at the server side. The send redirect method works at the client. This is the main difference. It sends the same request and response objects to another servlet. Is it not? I mean to say, gross servlet, that request and response object is sent to which one? Net servlet. The same request and response objects are sent to the another servlet. But it is always sending a new, fresh request. It's always sending a new request. Forward can work within the server only. It can be used within and outside the server. Okay. So this is the syntax. Response dot send redirect servlet 2. Here you saw now dot forward request comma response. So if you want to send a new request, I'm talking about servlet only. I'm talking about only servlet, not the other servers. If I want to always send a new request, then you can always use which one? Send redirect. But if you want to send a present request and response to another servlet, then you should always go for forward. Like basic HRA, DA, I require in where? In the net servlet. Then which I need to use? Forward. But I want to send a new request, then you can also use send redirect. That's the thing. Yeah, so we'll just quickly do a example for the send redirect. Okay, so I'll create an HTML file. Yesterday, second batch, there were less attendance now. Why? Second batch, the lab. We will just look here. We'll just create a one search form as we do in Google. Okay, I'm getting that whatever I want to search. For example, here I have a text box with the name itself. I have a servlet. We're getting the things whatever I typed in name and storing it name. Just look here. If you want to communicate from a servlet to external application, then we have to use send redirect. It will always make a new request. External. This is in terms of a external application. That's why. And we are sending the name, whatever you want to search. Okay, so we'll just see that. So I'm getting this. Yeah. Just look at people. Once you finish the course, you need to create a web application using Spring Boot and React.js. That will be the project assigned to you. Okay. You already have learned React.js, right? Yes. I learned React.js. Yes or no? How many days? 1 week. Only 1 day. I suggested that you have been trained on React.js and you need to do the project on React.js using React.js on the front end. Okay, we'll say, yeah, people just look here. No, I'm just giving because yesterday on the first day itself, the second batch, who are the people on second batch? Evening 4 to 6. They're very less people. Why? You all know? Just well, servlets. Good. Yeah, just listen. Yeah, look here. So CDAC, I'm just trying to search here, Google search. Okay. So it is taking me to the Google website. So this is from HTML file to servlet, and servlet is taking us to Google. So just look here, people. I have an HTML file. Yeah, listen here. I have an HTML file, and I'm just searching for CDAC. When I click on Google search, so it's directly giving me the CDAC here, and it is giving the results, search results. So what's happening here? I have a form, a text box, and a button. So we have a servlet. I'm fetching that text box content and storing it here. And you can just see a response dot send redirect. Okay. So I'm just passing on to the Google URL. When you go normally go and search in Google, na, so you'll get this. So that's why I just saw this. And what is this? Plus name, whatever you search. So that will be taken and it will be stored in the text box and you'll get the results automatically. So what is this? This is the URL on the external server. So my servlet, my searcher.java is a servlet which is running in my local host. So from there, I want to navigate or communicate to the URL in a external server. So that's why we are using which one? Send redirect. Send redirect. Okay, so we'll say more about this later. So we'll have a tea break. So then come back at 11:30. Okay.